What's up, guys? It's Nathan with BeyondTheGuitar.com, and in honor of The Walking Dead starting back up this last weekend, I wanted to share with you all this quick little video tutorial teaching you guys how to play the theme from the show. Now, regardless of whether you watch the show or not, I can pretty much guarantee that you have a friend or multiple friends who do watch the show who would be thrilled for you to play this for them. In addition to that, it's also an amazing slur exercise, slur being hammer on or pull off for the guitar, and we'll get into that later, but if you incorporate this into your practice, you can ditch those boring slur or hammer on and pull off exercises that you're doing currently. Play this instead. And finally, I'm gonna have an exclusive bonus for you guys. If you watch till the end of the video, I'm gonna talk about it then, so make sure you stick around. All right, I'm gonna play the theme for you first, and then we're going to get into the tutorial. All right, let's dive in. Alright, so first off, I've got a capo on the 3rd fret. It's not required, but if you want to play in the same key as the show, capo on the 3rd fret. Alright, we set up here with our first finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and then we're going to hammer on and pull off to and from the 3rd fret. So I'm going to play through 6th string, 2nd, and then 1st, right? So, and then the hammer on, pull off, and then back to the 2nd string, okay? So, and then I'm gonna repeat that. Okay, so the 3rd time I'm not gonna include that final pull off. So we're gonna go 1st time, 2nd time, 3rd time, and then repeat. Alright, so that's what provides that cool, uneven rhythm that kind of adds some of that tension. So after we do that, we go to the 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and then we're going to repeat that same pattern with the right hand, of course on different strings now, 5th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. And now we're going to be hammering on and pulling off between the 2nd and 3rd fingers. Okay, so I'm actually shortening everything a little bit because there's just a lot of repetition in the actual theme on the show. So I'm just doing this shape. I'm doing that 4 repetitions, and then I'm doing this shape, just 2 repetitions, and then I'm doing the next shape, another 2 repetitions, and then we go back to the original and end it. So you're welcome to extend it if you would like, but that's what I'm doing. So after we do this shape, then I'm gonna come back. Now here you can either bar, you don't have to bar, I like to because it adds a little extra leverage once we get into talking about the hammering on and pulling off. But basically you're going to play the open 5th string, then our 1st finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then our 3rd finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and we're going to be hammering on and pulling off between the 3rd and the 4th fingers now on the 4th and 5th fret. Okay, so that's going to sound like this. Repeat, and then we're back. And now we're gonna do it once. So we're gonna do kind of 1.5 repetitions there. So it's gonna be, and then once we do that figure, we're gonna end after the 2nd pull off there. So open 2nd string, and end on the thumb, open 6th string. All right, so fairly straightforward, fairly simple, but still really, really cool. So now we're going to talk about kind of the technique behind getting a really good hammer-on and pull-off, because this whole thing doesn't work if you can't nail those hammer-ons and pull-offs. And it's a technique that's just prevalent throughout all of guitar playing, so you can't escape it. All right, so there's a couple reasons why this theme is such a great slur exercise or hammer-on and pull-off exercise. One, you're hitting most of the possible combinations. So here we're hitting hammering on and pulling off between the 1st and 2nd fingers, right? Here we're hitting hammering on and pulling off between the 2nd and 3rd, and then here we're hitting the hammering on and pulling off of the 3rd and 4th. So we're hitting most of those combinations, which is what you're going to want to look for in a drill or exercise to really even out that technique. Secondly, for 2 out of these 3 shapes, you're required to hold down other fingers while you're hammering on and pulling off. And that's something that certain drills that I've done in the past don't actually require you to do. But most of the time in music, especially if you're playing something for classical or fingerstyle guitar, you're going to be using your other fingers while you're hammering on or pulling off. So if I'm just sitting here just practicing this, right, or whatever drill you're doing, I'm not really practicing what I'm going to see most often in actual music. Most often you're going to see something like the 2nd shape here, where I'm having to hold down a lower note and then hammer on and pull off in the melody. So that requires a little extra thought and a little extra finesse in order to make that really clean. So we'll get into that, but those are the 2 reasons why this is a really great exercise. So let's first talk about how to make a good hammer-on in general and within the context of this theme. One of the first things you want to watch out for with a hammer-on is you don't want to cock your finger way back, right? Lots of times we feel like we're going to get extra momentum and extra force by really cocking way back, but that's at the expense of accuracy. So we're much more likely to miss our target and hit a wrong string or a wrong fret, or at least just the wrong part of the fret if we're cocking way back. So you need to make sure that you're able to build up the necessary amount of force from a small distance, which is very possible. It just requires a little extra practice. So as you're working on this theme, you can focus on that. Focus on just lifting your finger off just maybe half an inch from the string and hammering it on, right? You also want to make sure that the motion is coming from this knuckle, right? There's no extra motion. There's no curving of the finger, right? It's like if you were imagining trying to hammer something and that hammer had a joint or a hinge in the middle, and it was multiple angles you had to account for, that would make hammering extremely difficult, right? Same thing here. If I'm kind of curving my finger around, it just makes for essentially a moving target. It's really hard to hit where we want to hit. So just make sure, just like a hammer, your only point of rotation is right here, right? So regardless of which shape you're in or which finger you're using, make sure you're only moving from here, and make sure you're not lifting way off from the fretboard. Okay? So that's the essential techniques behind a solid hammer-on. So it just requires some practice. It does require some strength and some just discipline in your finger in order to make that sound loud enough to be heard without really rocking way back. Now with pull-offs, the key, the real essential key to getting a nice clean pull-off is actually related to the other fingers that aren't doing the actual pulling. So let's take again this first shape, for example. You need to make sure that whichever finger you're pulling off to, that finger needs to already be in place, regardless of what the context is. If at all possible, you want to make sure that that finger's already in place, and you're going to want to make sure that you're feeling extra weight and extra pressure on that finger that you're pulling off 2, right? We want that because otherwise when we pull with our pulling finger, if we don't have weight on this finger, that string's gonna wanna pull with your finger, and you're not gonna be able to really snap that string because the string's moving with your finger, right? That becomes especially obvious on inner strings. So you wanna make sure that you have lots of weight on the finger that you're pulling to, and weight meaning weight from your arm, pulling back from your arm. Especially if you're in classical position, you can rely on the gravity, right, of your arm hanging down. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure you have weight here, and you're going to want to pull through the string rather than pulling up off the string, right? You can hear the difference. That's me pulling up. This is me pulling through, right? You hear that snap and that pop that we want. So pulling through on an inner string is going to look like this, where I'm basically in between the two strings when I finish that pull off, rather than pulling up off of it, which feels safer, but it's not going to give you the sound that you want. So weight on the finger you're pulling from, and then pulling through with this finger. You want to really listen for that snap, right? Okay, so you're going to want to listen for that in each one of these different shapes, right? So same thing here. So here's a little more complicated because, like I was talking about before, we have another finger that we're having to hold down while we're doing this hammer on and pull off. But same thing here, the second finger, since that's the finger I'm pulling toward, needs to have weight on it. I need to feel that extra pressure so that when I pull off, that string's not going to go anywhere. Right, and the same thing with the third shape. Lots of times people find that the 3 to 4 hammer-on pull-off is more difficult. Fourth finger is really weak, and between the two of them, there's lots of shared tendons and everything. So it just makes it a little more difficult, so it becomes especially important that you're holding down that extra weight on that third finger. So like I said earlier, I like to just have the bar there just because it makes me feel like I have a little extra grab on those strings, but you definitely don't have to. All right, so that's basically it. Take your time with this. Like I said, you can just incorporate this into your daily practice if you're wanting to really strengthen your slurs. Like I said, it's a great exercise for that. It's more musically entertaining than a lot of other drills and exercises out there. So I hope you guys do incorporate this into your practice and have a lot of fun with it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you want to support the channel, like, comment, subscribe, and share. I love reading everybody's comments, so please continue to do so. You can always recommend other videos that you would like me to do in the future. As promised before, I have an exclusive bonus for people on my newsletter at beyondtheguitar.com. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't signed up for my newsletter yet, make sure you check that out below. I've included a link below where you can sign up for my newsletter. So everybody who's on my newsletter is going to continue to get exclusive bonuses in the future. They're also going to be the first to know when tabs and sheet music and other tutorials are available on the site, and there's going to be lots of great deals I'm going to be throwing their way. So if you're not on my newsletter, again, follow the link below to jump on there. So once you get on my newsletter, you have 1 week to send me a video. Send it to my email. You can reply to the welcome email that I send out when you join. But send me an email with a video of you playing this theme. Right, so you have 1 week to submit that. So the deadline is going to be by next Wednesday, February 24th. So send me a video of you playing this, and I'm going to pick one person out of all the submissions that I get to win just a free 30-minute Skype call with me where we can discuss technique. We can basically just have a 30-minute Skype lesson. All right, so work through this tutorial, get to where you can play it, record a video, send it to me, and you'll have a chance to just have a free 30-minute Skype lesson with me. Again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm super excited to see all your submissions, so make sure you do not miss out on that opportunity. That's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.